Hello everyone, welcome to Doc's Custom Corner tonight. Wait a minute, where'd the cars go? Oh, wait a minute. Picture this in your mind. You're sitting there on a Sunday afternoon, looking out it from the grandstands, looking out over this vast field of cars out in the infield. What do you think is about ready to happen? At the drop of the flag, and all of a sudden, the engines rev and they're off. That's right, demo cars. This summer, hopefully, we'll be able to get to some county fairs and see some of this stuff happening. How many of you have been to a demo and actually seen some good cars, much like these, getting smashed up on a Sunday afternoon? Or how about that old 56 Chevy Nomad that some poor old guy used to have up behind his barn? Some guy found it and decided to take it out and have a little fun with it. Much like these guys are having, huh? Okay, we'll talk about these things a little bit here. This started life out as a 56 Chevy Nomad. Added some truck wheels to it, some mudder tires or desert tires, whatever, in the rear. Some bigger or light duty truck tires up front. Still got a small block Chevy in it. Actually, that looks like a big block. Correction. Sorry about that. Got the busted leaf spring sticking out the back. Now you're probably asking yourselves, how do you do it? Well, kind of simple. A lot of heat. I use a butane torch that I use for shrink tubing for heating for electrical connections and such. I use it before paint goes on when it's still in bare plastic, and then I use like a concrete step or a concrete wall or the edge of a table or even the concrete floor just to push against and get these to kind of bend up and do what they do here. I use an X-Acto knife to cut like door lines open to where it looks like it, something caught the door and shoved it back and shoved the skin of the door back. When I'm doing these, I put the interior, chassis, everything together, heat it up and bend everything together in one. And then I have an X-Acto knife on hand because sometimes the chassis will meld to the body, and I gotta cut the two apart to separate the two. This one here, if you can see up inside, where's my little paintbrush here? This seam right here, the back end folded itself into the body so much that I just cut the frame right across here, separated the frame in two pieces, and left this with the car, painted it, with it in the body, and then painted this one separately and stuck the two together. This on here is that rusting solution that you can get at Michael's. It's a 2-part rusting solution. That's what you see all over here. I've used actual real rust off of real cars, or not real cars, but actually I have real brake drums ground up and then salted on, kind of peppered onto the cars and let it sift over the cars in plot spots. The Impala that I have here has actual rust on it. I'll show you that one here in a second. This one started out as a 64 GTO. A friend of mine wants me to do a couple of cars for him. I still got to get going on him yet, but he wants me to do a couple of derby cars for him too. Take a little break there. We actually had a demo go here and knocked the rear axle out of the car here. I had to go back in quick. But this car here this is a 61 Impala. I want to say it's the Lindbergh kit, but this one has actual rust salted into it. You can see up in here in the cowl, the vents, and then down along the edge of the dashboard and the back window back here. This actually has its actual real rust. I work in a metals facility, and a lot of the drums, the metal tubs come in from outside, and they have powdered rust sitting in the bottom of them. And I scoop the rust out of them, bring the rust home to put on my models and stuff. People kind of look at me funny, but yeah, that's all right. Cobwebs all over. These don't sit in the cases. More dirt on them, I guess the more character puts in them gives them. This one was hit a little hard. I don't know if you can see, I can actually see the crank or the crank pulley underneath here, like a lot of the old Chevys did back, back in the day. Well, they still do, I guess. A lot of guys don't use the old Chevys like they used to. You can't find them here as much anymore. This one has the wire, like the number 9 baling wire through the holding the door together. I bend and make my own shifter, if you can see it. There it is. The shifter's right here. It's just a push-pull handle. You actually use like a threaded rod and then put nut and bolts, jam nuts together down at the floorboard. That way it blocks out, it'll block out park and, it'll block out park. That way you don't slam it into park when you're out there running. And you can just rip the pedal, the shifter back and forth without fear, throwing it into park and grenading the trans. Here goes trunk lid. This one's not set up for regulation demo. Trunk lid isn't wired down, so. And again, neither is the hood. This has got a small block in it. I used to pick through for a couple of guys that used to do demo. They're pretty good at it, and they haven't done it in many, many, many years, but I used to pick through for them and help build and set up their cars, and so I kind of know a little bit about them. But this one has the actual real rust dusted into the chassis underneath. I just sprayed accelerator on here to put the rear end in it, and I just washed some of it off here, but that's all right. Adds character. And the old 56. I think this one had a bad day at the office. This one got picked on a little too harsh out there in the derby lot. Kind of got a little scrunched. Needless to say, it's a little shorter. It'll probably be a little easier to parallel park now. A lot of the cars do when they break a leaf spring. The leaf spring used to stick out on them. I kind of built this one to be kind of dictate that, show that. This one just the driver's side of the spring stayed with the body, so it just wrapped it up. That rear end's coming loose too. This one, you can see where it heated together here. Like I say, when I melt these together, they kind of stick, so I got to use an X-Acto knife and just kind of cut along and separate the chassis from the body before it cools down. I try to do that as much as possible. That way I can paint it separately and build it all separately, whatever. But this one has the protection bar going across it just to keep the car from compressing in. If you take a side-to-side hit coming in, you don't compress the driver's compartment of the car. Can't remember if I got one behind the seat or not. I can't tell. Front end's been pushed, crunched. Yeah, I can't tell if there's a bar going across the back or not. Fuel tank's back in there. Sorry about that. Pulling the light down. Wasn't watching what I was doing on camera. Batteries down here underneath the foam. A lot of times the guys use the rear seat cushions. They just cut the foam on and wrap the batteries just to kind of protect a little bit in case the battery blew up mid derby. When I start doing my buddies' cars, I'll sit down and do a little how-to on these, just to kind of give you all an idea of what I do to them to get them to look like this. I've got a tripod that sits on the floor. I can use that and have it standing next to me as I'm doing it out in the garage or something. Sticks, I just use regular flat toothpicks, if I can talk tonight, for the sticks. But that's it. Thanks for watching. Hope you all having a good night. Thanks for watching, everyone. Hope you're all having a good night. Take care, and we'll see you on the corner. Ah, nuts.